This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Soibifa Jagarich. A furious China launched punishment drills around Taiwan on Thursday in what it said was a response to separatist acts, sending up heavily armed warplanes and staging mock attacks as state media denounced newly inaugurated President Lai Ching-te. The exercises in the Taiwan Strait and around groups of Taiwan-controlled islands that sit next to the Chinese coast come just 3 days after Lai took office, a man Beijing detests as a separatist. China, which views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, has denounced Lai's inauguration speech on Monday, in which he called on China to stop its threats and said the two sides of the strait were not subordinate to each other. On Tuesday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi called Lai disgraceful. Lai has repeatedly offered talks with China but been rebuffed. He says only Taiwan's people can decide their future and rejects Beijing's sovereignty claims. The Eastern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) said it had started joint military drills involving the Army, Navy, Air Force and Rocket Force in areas around Taiwan at 7:45 a.m. The drills are being conducted in the Taiwan Strait, the north, south and east of Taiwan, as well as areas around the Taiwan-controlled islands of Kinmen, Mas-tu, Wukyu and Dongyin, the command said in a statement. The first time China's exercises have included areas around these islands. Chinese state media said China sent out dozens of fighters jets carrying live missiles and conducted mock strikes along with warships of high-value military targets. The drills, dubbed Joint Sword, are scheduled to last for 2 days. However, unlike a similar Joint Sword exercise in April last year, these drills are tagged A, opening the door to potential follow-ups. Taiwan's defense ministry condemned the drills, saying that it had dispatched forces to areas around the island, that its air defenses and land-based missiles forces were tracking targets, and that it was confident it would protect its territory. Microsoft President Brad Smith said the tech company's high-profile deal with the United Arab Emirates-backed AI firm G42 could eventually involve the transfer of sophisticated chips and tools, a move that a senior Republican congressman warned could have national security implications. In an interview this week, Smith said the sales right accord, mainly details of which are being reported here for the first time, could progress to a second phase that entails the export of crucial components of AI technology, such as mother weights, a crown jewel of AI systems that determine how powerful they are. Smith said there is no firm timeline for the second phase. US officials have said that AI systems could pose national security risks, for example, by making it easier to engineer chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. The Biden administration in October required the makers of the largest AI systems to share details about them with the US government. To move forward, the deal would require the approval of the U.S. Department of Commerce. Microsoft executives said the agreement has safeguards to protect Microsoft's technology and prevent it from being used by Chinese entities to train AI systems. But those measures have not been made public, and some U.S. lawmakers question whether they are adequate. The closed-door nature of the negotiations between two private companies over the terms and safeguards on transfers of U.S. technology have alarmed some lawmakers. The Commerce Department already requires notification and in several regions export licenses to send AI chips abroad. But the Microsoft G42 deals highlight gaps in US laws as regulators rush to keep up with fast-moving technology. Microsoft executives said the company welcomes a debate on a new legal framework governing the transfer of AI technology, and that's the view with G42 requires the UAE firm to comply with US regulations as they evolve. A stage collapsed at a Mexican election campaign rally, killing 9 people and injuring dozens as high wind tore apart the large concert-style structure, scattering politicians and attendees. Around 50 people were injured at the rally for the Citizens Movement Party in the northern Mexico state of Nuevo Leon, Samuel Garcia, the state governor, said on social media. The victims were 8 adults and 1 child, Garcia said, adding he was headed to a hospital where 3 people were in in surgery. Many of the injured were being treated at local clinics, the director of Mexico's Social Security Institute reported. George Alvarez Menez, the presidential candidate for the centrist Citizens Movement Party, said a gust of wind caused the stage to collapse at the event in the city of San Pedro Garza Garcia, a wealthy enclave near the industrial hub of Monterrey. Video of the accident showed the structure suddenly falling forward into the crowd, sending politicians on the stage and panicked attendees running for cover. Alvarez Menez, who returned to the scene of the accident after being cleared at a local hospital, said he was suspending campaign activities and that he hoped authorities would accord, requesting transparency in the process. Alvarez Menez's campaign coordinator, Laura Ballesteros, was hospitalized with a broken foot. According to the party, a mayoral candidate for San Pedro Garza Garcia, Lorena Canavati, wrote on social media that she was coordinating with authorities to support those impacted and their families. South Korea announced on Thursday a 26 trillion won, that is $19 billion, support package for its chip businesses, citing a need to keep up in areas like chip design and contract manufacturing amid all-out warfare in the global semiconductor market. Under the package, President Yoon Suk-yeol said the financial support program worth about 17 trillion won was planned through state-run Korea Development Bank to back investment by semiconductor companies, according to the presidential office. As we all know, semiconductors are a field where all-out national warfare is on the way. Win or lose, that depends on who can make cutting-edge semiconductor first, Yoon said at a meeting with top government officials. South Korea, home to the world's top memory chip maker Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, has fallen behind some rivals in areas such as chip design and contract chip manufacturing. South Korea's share of the global fabless sector, which is dominated by companies like US giant Nvidia that design chips but outsource manufacturing, stood at about 1%, Yoon's office said. There was also a gap between local chip makers and the leading contract chip makers, with Taiwan's TSMC, it said. Yoon said a 1 trillion won fund would be set up to support equipment makers and fabless companies. A group of cancer victims sued Johnson & Johnson, accusing the healthcare company of committing fraud through repeated and continued efforts to use a shell company's bankruptcy to resolve tens of thousands of lawsuits alleging its talc products contained asbestos and caused cancer. 5 plaintiffs who seek to represent over 50,000 people who have sued J&J over its talc products filed the proposed class auction in New Jersey federal court. They allege that J&J's bankruptcy strategy puts billions of dollars around out of the reach of plaintiffs in an attempt to hinder, delay, and defraud these women and prevent them from ever having their day in court. J&J's worldwide vice president of litigation, Eric Haas, said the lawsuit was a Hail Mary pass by plaintiffs' lawyers who don't want their clients to vote on the company's latest proposed bankruptcy settlement. Most of the talc lawsuits have been brought by women with ovarian cancer, while other cases involve people with mesothelioma, a deadly cancer linked to asbestos exposure. J&J has said that its baby powder and other talc products are safe, do not contain asbestos, and do not cause cancer. J&J first used a corporate maneuver called the Texas Two-Step to place its talc liabilities into a new subsidiary that's then filed for bankruptcy in 2021. The bankruptcy stopped the lawsuit from moving ahead against J&J, although it did not file for bankruptcy itself. That and a second similar attempt to resolve the litigation failed as court ruled that J&J and its subsidiary was not in financial distress, so not eligible for bankruptcy. The company said on May 1st that it plans to pursue a third bankruptcy once it gets enough votes to support a $6.48 billion talc settlement. J&J says the planned third bankruptcy with its units will be different because it will have support from over 75% of the people with the talc-related claims. The company has streamlined signed the proposed third bankruptcy by reaching separate settlements with law firms representing people with mesothelioma, as well as U.S. states that alleged the company failed to warn consumers about the dangers of its talc products. Litigations against J&J resumed after its second bankruptcy was dismissed. In recent trials, J&J was ordered to pay $45 million in a mesothelioma case while winning an ovarian cancer case. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Thursday.